From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us on the Feast of St. Joan of Arc. Our top story tonight, a historic day for the United States. Donald Trump became the first former president to be convicted of felony crimes. After deliberating for 9.5 hours, a jury found Trump guilty on all 34 counts. Prosecutors accused Trump of falsifying internal business records to cover up hush money payments tied to an alleged scheme to bury stories that may torpedo his 2016 White House bid. For more, let's bring in Associated Press international affiliate correspondent Philip Crowther, who is outside the courthouse. Phil, good to be with you today. So how did the former president react when the guilty verdicts were announced?
Well, from our reporters who are inside the courtroom, we're hearing that he was pretty stern-faced when all of those counts were read out by the jury, when they gave their verdict, guilty on all counts for the former president. He had, as he has done over the last few weeks, the chance to address the camera in the hallway outside of the courtroom, that same place where he has criticized this case and the judge almost every day of this trial, in the mornings and when he departed in the evenings, and he did the same just a short while ago. Here's the former president speaking after that guilty verdict for him here in the courthouse.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. You have a Soros-backed DA and the whole thing. We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent. And I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end, and we'll win, because our country's gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess. We're a nation in decline, serious decline. Millions and millions of people pouring into our country right now from prisons and from mental institutions, terrorists, and they're taking over our country. We have a country that's in big trouble. But this was a rigged decision right from day one, with a conflicted judge who should have never been allowed to try this case, never. And we will fight for our Constitution. This is long from over. Thank you very much.
I think you can expect to hear a lot more from Donald Trump over the next few hours and days. He is now free to campaign again. Now that his days in court are over, he will presumably be posting a lot on his social media accounts. He believes this was a disgrace. That is something that his sons have also been saying over the last hour or so. They, of course, have been in court with him. His supporters, of course, very unhappy indeed with this verdict here in court. But the truth of the matter is that the former president, also the candidate for the Republican Party for the 2024 election, is now also a convicted criminal.
Well, Philip, we can hear a lot of noise in the background there. What's the atmosphere outside the courthouse right now?
Well, look, we are just opposite the courthouse here, and there's a park right here where essentially the two groups have been kept apart. The two groups being supporters of the former president and those who we heard celebrating here just a short while ago. That is, in fact, how I found out that he had been found guilty. I was on the phone, but at the same time was seeing people celebrating, and they were clearly in the camp that wanted to see the former president convicted in this case. There's a lot of media, of course. Now we're going into overdrive. Everybody reporting on this news to everybody around the world. This is a case that is of interest to everybody. And we also saw more and more people arriving here who wanted to have what essentially is a front row seat. They weren't able to get inside the courtroom, but they wanted to be here when that verdict was made official. We're also hearing helicopters overhead. It is now time for the former president to move out of the courtroom, his motorcade now on the way, and essentially those long days in court for everybody involved, for the jury, for the prosecution, for Donald Trump's defense lawyers, for the former president himself, they are now over.
Well, Philip, just out of time right now, but quickly, what happens next?
Well, we know that the sentencing is going to be happening on July the 11th, so everybody involved in this case, with the exception, of course, of the jury, will be back in this courthouse. That is just a few days before the Republican convention in Milwaukee, when Donald Trump will be nominated officially to again be the candidate for the Republican Party in the November election. In the meantime, we will presumably hear about an appeal on behalf of the Trump campaign, and we will hear a lot from the former president because, again, there is no bail here involved. He is free to move. He is free to campaign again. So after spending long days in court, presumably he will be back on the campaign trail in earnest now, but he will be doing so as a convicted criminal.
Philip Crowther in New York City for us tonight. Philip, thank you. Within minutes of the verdict against Trump, President Joe Biden tweeted a quick response. Biden wrote, "There's only one way to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office, at the ballot box." Then he added, "Donate to our campaign today." The president spent the day in Delaware. He is scheduled to return to the White House tomorrow. Secretary of State Antony Blinken rips on Russia during an overseas trip and hints that America may allow Ukraine to use U.S. missiles to strike inside of Russia. Blinken spoke today alongside the Czech Republic's defense minister.
I also have to especially applaud what Czechia has done in going around the world and finding the necessary munitions that Ukraine needs on the battlefield.
It's the responsibility of the democratic world to give the Ukrainian armed forces everything they need to defend their country.
Blinken is in Prague for a NATO foreign ministers meeting. The alliance's next major meeting is scheduled for July in Washington, D.C. Still, Russia does not seem deterred. It launched another wave of aerial attacks against Ukraine, and Russian President Vladimir Putin says that he could escalate the war even more if Ukraine hurls U.S. bombs at Russia. Egypt has remained quiet after news that Israel seized control of a strategic corridor along Gaza's border with Egypt to cut off smuggling tunnels as it tries to destroy Hamas. Egypt has said any increase in troops in the strategic border area would violate the country's 1979 peace accord. It already had complained about Israel taking over the Rafah border crossing, the only crossing between Gaza and Egypt. Meanwhile, in northern Gaza, authorities are urging residents not to return to their homes following news of an Israeli withdrawal. There is widespread destruction in the area. Streets are covered in rubble, and most buildings have been damaged or destroyed. 14 pro-democracy advocates are found guilty in Hong Kong's biggest national security case. The pro-democracy protesters were convicted of conspiracy to commit subversion for holding an unofficial primary election in 2020. They were prosecuted under a sweeping national security law passed by China in the wake of mass anti-government protests. Beijing says that it supports the 14 being found guilty. And for more, let's bring in Frances Hui, Policy and Advocacy Coordinator for the Committee for Freedom in Hong Kong Foundation. She is also a native Hong Konger. Frances, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
You know, a lot to discuss here, but first I want to get your reaction to these convictions.
Well, it's definitely not a surprising result. I think all of us have, expected to come. They were first arrested in January 2021 and officially charged in February. And most of them have been denied bail, which means that they have been imprisoned for over 3.5 years, like 1,000 days. And so it's definitely absurd that to see, the CCP's scale, like how extensive they will go to suppress people's freedom and rights. I mean, these 47 people, they are all criminalized just because they are participating and organizing a democratic primaries to elect their candidates, right? And what we see today was only 16 of them who pled not guilty. So, which means there are also 31 of them who pled guilty are still waiting for their final verdict and sentencing. And we're looking at, minimum of 3 years in prison to life sentencing for primary offenders. So there are definitely more to come, but this is just another sign to see how the CCP will, how the scale of their suppression and repressive regime.
Yeah, we've been following the case of Jimmy Lai for some time. I know you have as well. What do you think these convictions could mean for his case, if anything at all?
Yeah, so similar to the 47, he has been jailed for over 1,000 days and, coming in and out from detention and prison for different types of convictions that the government have trumped up. He is probably one of the most prominent face for peaceful demonstration. He's a Catholic as well, and so I think we can all kind of expect that there are a very heavy prosecution going on. The trial is still going on. It started back in December last year, and I think with how many witnesses that the prosecutors are bringing in, it would seem that we can kind of predict that there would be pretty egregious sentence coming in. But the process, again, it could be really long. So there is a need for democratic countries, including the U.S., to continue to speak up and to secure for his release, continue to ask for his release with, the PRC officials for sure.
Almost out of time here, maybe a little bit less than a minute left, but a really somber anniversary is coming up on June 4th. That's the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre. Talk to us about how you think those in Hong Kong, how they'll be marking this anniversary.
Yeah, I can be quite certain that there won't be any publicly organized assemblies or commemoration happening in the city. The annual vigil, which always happened in Hong Kong was used to be the only place in China that could commemorate the massacre openly. And the annual vigil has been banned since 2020. The Catholic Church actually historically have also organized masses, like commemoration masses, all around the city. It was also, they stopped doing it in 2022. So again, no public assembly could be seen visibly, but I think it's important to emphasize that people in Hong Kong are still trying to find a way to express themselves in a safe way in that limited space. And it's a process of testing the red line. For example, in the past few years, some people would buy flowers, bring flowers and candlelights on the streets, and keep reminding people on the streets about this day. And I think that applies to a lot of other things, sensitive stuff in Hong Kong. People are trying to test the red line, navigating through the gray area. It's a saying that you can blow away our candles and erase the history, but you can't blow away our determination and erase people's memories of truth. So it's a very high pressure environment to live in, but it's always in those kind of environment that you can see people's bravery and perseverance, the people are still resisting in some way.
Yeah, we definitely cannot forget that date, Indy. Frances, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
With the Mexican presidential election this weekend, candidates are holding some of their final rallies before voters head to the polls. So Chino Galvez criticized President Obrador's policy of not confronting drug cartels. Jorge Menez promises to fully decriminalize marijuana and abortion. Both candidates trail frontrunner Claudia Sheinbaum, who says that she will continue most of the current government's policies. The president of Turkey is threatening a military intervention if local elections take place in nearby Syria. Istanbul says the voting among Kurdish groups could be taken as a step toward establishing an independent state. Turkey says that would be considered, quote, a terror state. The voting is set to take place June 11th. Turkey has launched military operations in Syria in the past. And we have a lot more still to come here on EWTN News Nightly, including unanimous ruling. The Supreme Court weighs in on a case involving the NRA.
Mr. Harris, are you driving?
Actually, I'm pulling into my doctor's office, actually. So just give me 1 second. I'm parking right now.
And why a judge in Michigan was driven to issue a stern sentence. Welcome back. President Joe Biden marks a somber anniversary. 9 years ago, his son Beau died from brain cancer. Today, the president and members of his family went to Mass at the Catholic church where Beau was buried in Delaware. Video shows them leaving St. Joseph on the Brandywine and walking around the cemetery. The president later traveled to Rehoboth Beach, Delaware to spend more time with family. Vice President Kamala Harris spoke to graduates at the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. She told them that they are joining the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen.
I believe there is no more noble work that one can do than to serve our nation in uniform. On behalf of our Commander-in-Chief, President Joe Biden, and our entire nation, it is my honor to congratulate you on taking your place in the long blue line.
The vice president said America's record of air and space superiority has been unmatched and unbroken. And she added, our allies are in awe and our adversaries in fear of America's dominance in the air. Well, in a key First Amendment case, the Supreme Court has issued a ruling siding with the National Rifle Association. It sets a precedent that could make it harder for state regulators to pressure advocacy groups. The case stems from a lawsuit against a New York official who urged banks and insurance companies to cut ties with the NRA after the 2018 Parkland, Florida high school mass shooting, allegedly threatening enforcement actions if companies failed to comply. Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote in the decision, the First Amendment prohibits government officials from wielding their power selectively to punish or suppress speech. All right, now to the controversy in the court. Today, Chief Justice John Roberts declined to meet with Democratic lawmakers to talk about Justice Alito and ethics. It comes one day after Alito rejected demands from lawmakers to recuse himself from major Supreme Court cases involving former President Trump and the January 6th rioters. This stems from reports that emerged showing that an upside-down American flag and an Appeal to Heaven flag were flown over Alito's homes in recent years. One Democratic senator says that it is time for the Chief Justice to do something.
I think he ought to use his moral and political force on the court and take actions that may seem symbolic, like refusing to assign opinions to Justice Alito.
Justice Clarence Thomas has also rejected calls to recuse himself from cases related to the 2020 election, which Trump lost. Thomas's wife, Jenny, supported efforts to overturn the election results. Well, according to recent studies, the #1 cause of mental health issues in teenagers is the negative impact of social media. An unusual pairing of lawmakers has been promoting online safety bills, but they have been stalled for almost a year. Now, the lawmakers may be on the verge of getting Congress to pass comprehensive legislation. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales is in the studio now with that story. Eric?
Good evening, Tracy. Senators Lindsey Graham and Dick Durbin have a package of bills aimed at combating child sexual abuse material on digital platforms. The bills would allow victims to sue social media companies for sexual exploitation. The senators joined advocates at a recent news conference to raise awareness.
A child survivor who goes by the name L recently wrote to me and said, "Do not let what happened to me happen to any more children. Do not wait to pass much-needed child protection legislation. Do not hesitate because lives are at stake."
Most Americans can't believe that these companies have no accountability. They're the largest companies in the history of the world. They're immune from lawsuit.
Dawn Hawkins is the CEO of the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. She tells me Congress hasn't passed an online safety law in 25 years.
And as a result of that, tech companies have not had any reason to design with kids' safety in mind, and child sexual abuse and exploitation has just skyrocketed.
A survivor of sexual exploitation had this message for big tech companies.
We are real people, children who are being sexually abused online. Our abuse is live streamed, and even after we are rescued, this footage remains online. Take down the footage of our abuse living on your platforms.
At the briefing, Hawkins said social media companies oppose safety guardrails for one reason: money.
Every day, big tech scans for malware and spyware and Hollywood's copyrighted content, but they leave child sexual abuse material to amass views and money. It's time to protect child victims' privacy.
Lawmakers and advocates are demanding action.
Survivors of this crime should not have to wait a day longer, and the American people deserve to know where their legislators stand on one of the most pressing human rights abuses of their time.
If you don't stop it, we're going to make you do this. And I hope you pay, and I hope it hurts.
Both Senators Durbin and Graham are urging Majority Leader Chuck Schumer to bring up their bills. Both say big tech is pouring millions into lobbying against that effort. Similar measures are also sitting in the House awaiting committee action. Tracy?
All right, thank you, Eric. And up next on EWTN News Nightly, right-sizing and reshaping. Learn more about new changes coming to a diocese in upstate New York. Plus, learn why Bishop Robert Barron says a popular religious skeptic has become an unlikely ally. The Diocese of Buffalo in New York says that it will merge more than a third of its parishes. Bishop Michael Fisher says about 55 of the 160 parishes in the diocese will be merged into a process of, quote, right-sizing and reshaping. According to Fisher, the move is necessary due to a shortage of priests, declining mass attendance, and financial difficulties. The head of the diocese says that this is part of a, quote, the road to renewal. There are 567,000 Catholics in Buffalo. A longtime lawmaker in the European Union says the body is not doing enough to promote and to protect the freedom of religion. EWTN Vatican Bureau Chief Andreas Tannhauser has more with Jan Figel of Slovakia.
You have been the first special envoy for religious freedom or belief for the European Union. Is there being done enough today in Europe and maybe around the world to protect religious freedom?
Definitely not enough is done by European Union and its member states. When I was first ever EU Special Envoy, this issue was visible and I think also effective for those who suffer. Messages, even life-saving was part of our agenda and results. Now there is very little voice heard or activities seen from European Union, and that's detrimental. I think European Union after elections should establish not only envoy, but a very visible and effective policy agenda on freedom of religion or belief for all. This should be part of external action, international development, maybe in tandem with the United States, which have 25 years of good story and very strong experience with this agenda.
You're actively promoting to introduce an International Day of Human Dignity, which of course is also related to religious freedom and to human rights. Why is it important to speak more about human dignity?
We live in times of controversies and ideologies, and there is more and more misinterpretation of human rights. We believe that they are universal, they are interrelated, indivisible, etc. And the base of our human rights is dignity. And therefore, understanding of dignity, promotion of dignity, education on dignity is very much needed. And therefore, I propose Human Dignity Day as part of the initiative, which is already visible, because there was Punta del Este Declaration on Human Dignity for Everyone, Everywhere adopted in 2018 as a part of commemoration of the UDHR, but also recommitment to the UDHR. And now, after 5 years, we are again invited to do more.
Just recently, the Vatican also published a new document on dignity called Dignitatis Infinita. Can you tell us a little bit more how this is related to human dignity and what you're asking?
There is strong and deep nexus between human dignity and religious freedom, and I will recall another document of the Holy See, or better to say, Second Vatican Council from 1965, called Dignitatis Humanae, document on religious freedom. And this again confirms this nexus and importance of religious freedom for living together in peace and in community, because every one of us has rights and duties which start with freedom of thought, freedom of conscience, and freedom to believe or not to believe, to have convictions. And all other rights are subsequent.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, on a much different note, it's not a complete conversion story, but Bishop Robert Barron is praising the work of a talk show host who was once famously anti-religious. In a recent op-ed for CNN, the head of the Diocese of Winona, Rochester, Minnesota, praised the work of Bill Maher, saying the comedian is a strong advocate against woke ideology. In particular, Maher is pushing back against cancel culture and the all-or-nothing antagonism that marks a lot of discussion. Bishop Barron says that his one-time nemesis is now an ally, and sometimes that happens. So finally tonight, one court case in Michigan is going viral. A man with a suspended license attended his Zoom hearing while driving his car. The judge was not amused. Take a look at this.
Mr. Harris, are you driving?
Actually, I'm pulling into my doctor's office, actually. So just give me 1 second. I'm parking right now.
Wait, so maybe I don't understand something. This is a driving while license suspended?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And he was just driving, and he didn't have a license.
That is what the charge is, Your Honor, yes.
No, I'm looking at his
Yes.
record. He doesn't have a license. He's suspended and he's just driving.
That is correct, Your Honor.
I don't even know why he would do that. So defendant's bond is revoked in this matter. Defendant is to turn himself into the Washington County Jail by 6 p.m. today. Failure to turn himself in will result in a bench warrant with no bond.
And that would be a very bad day. Well, we thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Tracy Sabol. Good night, and God bless.